I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. A human woman in Thistlewick. She dies quietly.
Quietly costs more.
Name your price. Just don't fail me. A king ruled by a mortal's heartbeat is a weakness, not mercy. Any enemy could end him through her. I was protecting the crown. You were protecting your own ambition.
Mid-council in the Amberfall throne room, Prince Kaelen suddenly collapses, gasping and clutching his chest as his heartbeat violently stutters. The first sign in 300 years that the human bonded to his life is in mortal danger. Court healers and Queen Maren rush to Kaelen's side as he writhes on the floor. Maren's shock reveals this has never happened at this severity before. As the worst of the attack passes, Kaelen describes fragmented sensations he felt through the bond, the smell of crushed mint, cold river water, aching hands, and raw terror that wasn't his own. Queen Maren, shaken, admits the bond has never manifested this severely in 3 centuries, meaning the bonded woman came close to death tonight, and the binding itself may be weakening. Maren reveals the origin of the binding. Centuries ago, the first Vaelthorn queen bound every heir's heartbeat to an anonymous mortal, so no ruler of Amberfall could ever grow too cruel or too far from human feeling to rule justly. Kaelen asks how to find her. Maren delivers the story's central rule. He may search for her, but if he ever reveals the bond before she loves him freely, the binding will shatter violently, killing them both. Lord Corvin Ashgrave enters, offering smooth condolences over Kaelen's collapse, but his eyes betray quiet calculation. If Kaelen dies unbonded, the throne passes to him. Alone again with his mother after Corvin departs, Kaelen declares he will cross the veil into the human world to find the woman before the bond fails entirely. Maren, afraid but resigned, gives her blessing. At the ancient stone archway, deep in the Amberfall forest, Kaelen steadies himself and steps through the glowing runes, crossing from the Fey realm into the human world. In the human world, Isolde stands soaked and shaking on the Thistlewick riverbank, having just pulled a drowning child from the current the moment, unknowingly, that nearly broke the bond. Isolde's grandmother Mabel arrives, wrapping her in a blanket and scolding her with fierce, loving worry over her recklessness. Back in her hut, exhausted and still damp, Isolde tends the rescued child's minor injuries by firelight, briefly registering the strange ache in her own chest before dismissing it as exhaustion. Finn Callahan, the village blacksmith and Isolde's close friend, stops by to check on her after hearing about the river rescue. Their easy warmth hints at his quiet, unspoken feelings for her. Kaelen, now in the human world, and glamored to hide his ears and markings, wanders the Thistlewick Market Square following the sensory trail of the bond and catches the sharp scent of crushed mint.
Who buys mint like this?
That'll be Isolde Farrow, the healer. Huts past the bridge, west path.
Kaelen arrives at Isolde's hut at dusk and hesitates outside the door, the bond pulsing so intensely he can barely breathe. This is, without question, the place. Isolde opens the door to find a stranger claiming injury. Guarded but professional, she lets him in. The two stand face to face for the first time. Inside the hut, their personalities immediately spark. His practiced charm meets her blunt directness, and neither can quite place the other, deepening mutual curiosity. Isolde takes his wrist to examine the claimed injury. The physical contact triggers a surge through the bond, his hidden markings flare, his breath catches, and for the first time, he feels the full, undeniable weight of who she is. Shaken by the intensity of the bond's reaction, Kaelen abruptly makes an excuse and leaves. Isolde, left standing in her doorway, watches him disappear into the dark, unsettled by her own reaction to a stranger she'll probably never see again. Kaelen stops at the edge of the village, overwhelmed by the confirmation of the bond, forcing himself to accept the impossible task ahead. In his private chambers, Corvin meets with Lady Thessaly Briar, his co-conspirator, who proposes using a blood-linked scrying mirror to track Kaelen across the Vale. Back at the hut, Isolde tells Mabel about the strange visitor. Mabel's reaction hints at old village folklore about a legendary, heartbound planting a seed of dramatic irony. Kaelen arrives at the Thistlewick Inn and invents a cover identity, a traveling cartographer, to justify an extended stay near the village. Kaelen visits Callahan Forge under his cartographer cover, testing the village's trust in him. Finn is instinctively wary, sensing something he can't name. A farmer's child falls ill at dusk. Isolde must gather rare fever root deep in the woodland path before dark. Kaelen, nearby, watching for exactly this kind of opening, offers to accompany her. Deep in the woods, Isolde and Kaelen search for the rare root together as full dark falls. His uncanny knowledge of plants surprises her. She didn't yet know his instincts came from something older than any book. Kaelen deflects her question with a half-truth, and the two share their first real moment of easy laughter, softening the tension between them. They hurry back through the dark woods with the gathered root, a small moment of physical closeness. The distance between strangers narrowed into something else entirely. Back in the healer's hut, Isolde successfully treats the farmer's sick child with the gathered root, while Kaelen watches her work, visibly moved by her skill and compassion. Back in Corvin's chambers, the scrying mirror yields only fragmented, fog-shrouded glimpses of the human world. The binding's old protections are resisting Thessaly's efforts, frustrating Corvin. The next morning, Mabel gently teases Isolde about the cartographer, noting the way her granddaughter's face changes when she mentions him. Isolde deflects, but not convincingly. At night, Kaelen sits with quill and parchment, attempting to write to his mother, but finds he cannot put into words what he's begun to feel torn between duty and something unplanned. The next afternoon, Kaelen returns to the hut under the pretense of buying remedies, and he and Isolde share a quiet, unhurried conversation over tea, their first real moment of emotional openness. Finn arrives unannounced with a delivery for Isolde, and finds Kaelen already there. A flicker of visible tension breaks the warmth of the previous scene, closing this chunk on rising friction. Finn couldn't name what bothered him about the stranger, only that his instincts, sharpened by years at the forge, rarely failed him when something didn't sit quite right. Back over tea, Isolde asks Kaelen if he's ever loved someone. He comes dangerously close to the truth before catching himself, and neither of them knew how close it came. In Corvin's chambers, the ancient binding's protection faltered. The scrying mirror's fog finally begins to thin, revealing a fragmented glimpse of a lavender-hung cottage door. Corvin travels to the Vale Archway and pressures Keeper Aldrich, the ancient warden who guards Fey crossings, into granting him unauthorized passage, bending law through threat rather than right. Thistlewick begins preparing for its annual harvest gathering. Isolde is swept up in festival errands, and Kaelen, under his cartographer, cover volunteers to help, giving the village a chance to warm to him. Finn corners Kaelen alone near the forge and issues a direct, unmistakable warning not to hurt Isolde and not to overstay whatever game he's playing. He found the words came far easier than he expected them to. That evening, Isolde opens up to Kaelen about her past. Her parents died of a fever she couldn't treat as a child, which is why she never turns away a wound. It's the most vulnerable she's been with anyone in years. In the quiet after her confession, Kaelen finally offers his real first name, a small, real piece of truth within all his deception, and Isolde says it back like she's testing how it feels. The harvest gathering is in full swing. Isolde pulls a reluctant Kaelen into the dancing despite his protests that he doesn't know the steps. He let himself forget every rule he'd sworn to keep, and simply let her pull him closer. They dance together, laughing, growing closer, a rare, unguarded joy for both of them. For one terrible second, at the height of happiness, his carefully hidden secret nearly wore straight through his skin. At the peak of their joy, the bond responds to the surge of emotion. Kaelen's hidden markings flare bright enough to glow faintly through his collar. Panicked, he breaks away mid-turn, leaving Isolde stunned. Left alone by the bonfire, hurt and bewildered, Isolde is found by Mabel, who gently reopens the subject of the old village folklore about the Heartbound. Back in the Fey realm, Corvin returns to the Vale Archway. Having weighed the threat of a future king, Keeper Aldrich reluctantly steps aside. Corvin forces the crossing without true right or reason. Corvin steps through into the human world at the edge of Thistlewick, glamored to pass unnoticed, orienting himself with cold purpose. Corvin had never needed a reason to cross realms before tonight. At the inn, Corvin casually fishes for information about recent strangers in Thistlewick, closing in on Kaelen without revealing his purpose. Isolde goes to the Thistlewick Inn to find Kaelen after his abrupt departure from the harvest gathering, asking Bram which room is his. She had spent enough nights wondering. Now she wanted answers, or at least honesty. Kaelen opens the door and, unable to explain the truth, offers a half-truth about a family affliction. The moment turns tender, nearly becoming a kiss, before Isolde pulls back wanting to trust him, but not yet certain she can. As Isolde leaves, she passes a strange, coldly elegant traveler in the corridor, Lord Corvin, glamoured. Neither speaks. She felt a chill pass her in the hallway and told herself it was only the draft. She was wrong. Corvin knocks on Kaelen's door. The two Fae come face to face for the first time in the mortal world. Kaelen's shock and fury at the illegal crossing meets Corvin's icy composure. Corvin lays his cards on the table. He knows about the bond, and he's counting on Kaelen's silence to be his undoing one way or another. Corvin didn't need to break the law himself to destroy them both. Alone after Corvin leaves, Kaelen stares at his own reflection in the dark window glass, his unglamoured markings still visible, wrestling with the impossible choice Corvin has handed him. The next morning, a hollow-eyed, distracted Kaelen returns to the hut. Isolde immediately notices something is wrong and gently presses him. He deflects, but the strain between his secret and his growing feelings is now visible to her. Back in Corvin's chambers, Corvin reports his encounter with Kaelen to Thessaly. Together they devise their real plan not to expose the secret directly, but to engineer a crisis that forces Kaelen to break the law himself, out of desperation to save Isolde. In Amberfall, Queen Maren senses something has shifted through her own faint connection to the throne's magic, and consults the ancient records alone, growing suspicious that Corvin has moved against the crown's interests. Despite everything hanging over him, he chooses to stay close to her rather than pull away, a quiet, resolved moment that deepens their bond further, unaware of the danger now being engineered against her. In Corvin's chambers, Thessaly crafts a small cursed thorn charm, a slow-acting affliction designed to weaken its bearer gradually, engineered to look like natural illness rather than magic. Corvin crosses the veil a second time and slips the cursed charm into Isolde's gathering basket at the market while she's distracted, unseen. She would only ever know the sudden cold that quietly followed her all the way home. Back at her hut, Isolde begins to feel an inexplicable heaviness and chill she dismisses as fatigue, unaware the cursed charm now sits among her own herbs. She had felt tired before, but this cold felt different somehow. Kaelen, alone at the inn, is struck by a subtle but unmistakable wrongness through the bond, not the sharp agony of scene 1, but a slow, creeping cold that terrifies him precisely because he doesn't understand it. Mabel notices Isolde's paling skin and shallow breathing over dinner, and grows visibly alarmed, insisting something is wrong beyond ordinary tiredness, setting the ticking clock fully in motion as the scene closes.
What happened to her?
I don't know, she just grew colder and colder.
Kneeling at her bedside, Kaelen's Fae senses detect something unnatural clinging to her, a wrongness no human medicine would recognize. He struggles to voice this without revealing what he is. Following the wrongness like a scent, Kaelen finds the cursed thorn charm hidden among the gathered herbs, immediately recognizing the Fae craftsmanship and understanding, with dread, exactly who made it. Kaelen returns to Isolde's bedside with the charm hidden in his fist, forced to convince a skeptical Mabel that the herbs themselves are poisoned, a lie that protects his secret but costs him her trust. Alone with the charm outside the hut, he could have burned it to ash with a single word of power. Instead, he chose the harder way, the way that wouldn't need explaining. The moment the charm shatters, Isolde's condition immediately begins to improve. Color returns to her face and her breathing steadies, though she remains asleep, unaware of what nearly happened or who saved her.
I don't know what you are, not truly, but I know you saved her tonight. So I'll ask no more, for now.
Is she dead or not? The charm is gone.
Someone broke it by force.
Subtlety failed us. Then we go further.
You mean send someone, in person?
I mean end this properly.
Isolde wakes the next morning, weak but recovering, to find Kaelen still at her bedside, having stayed through the night. The quiet domesticity of the moment catches them both off guard. Kaelen gives Isolde a careful, partial account of the night-tainted herbs. Nothing more, but what moves her isn't the explanation, it's the simple fact that he never left her side. Something in her shifts. Later that day, alone with Mabel while Kaelen steps out, Isolde tries to articulate what she's feeling, and realizes, with quiet astonishment, that it might be love far sooner and far deeper than she expected. Outside, alone, Kaelen overhears none of this, but is independently consumed by guilt. Every step closer to her, happiness is a step deeper into a lie he cannot undo without killing them both. That evening, fully recovered, Isolde asks Kaelen to walk with her along the river under the full moon. The conversation turns unusually honest, and the space between them closes further than either intends. They stop walking. The moment stretches, both leaning in, but Kaelen, remembering the danger of what happened at the bonfire, gently pulls back at the last second, leaving Isolde confused but not deterred. Corvin summons Thane Duskrow, a hardened Fae operative with a reputation for quiet, untraceable work, and gives him a single assignment: remove the human woman by any means necessary. Thane crosses the veil at a hidden, unwatched point far from Keeper Aldrich's post, glamoring himself as he steps into the human world, a silent, professional killer now loose in Thistlewick's woods. Kaelen, walking back to the inn at dusk, feels an unfamiliar prickle of danger, not the bond, but old Fae instinct warning him he is not the only supernatural presence in Thistlewick. Kaelen arrives at the hut, urgently and uncharacteristically insisting Isolde and Mabel keep the door barred and stay inside. His fear is obvious, but he still can't explain its true source. Under the cover of full dark, Thane Duskrow approaches the hut, moving with silent, predatory patience, studying the barred door and shuttered window from the shadows of the tree line.
Do you hear that? Something's outside.
You're one of us. And you're leaving. Now.
Thane draws his blade and attacks without warning. Kaelen, unarmed but driven by pure Fae instinct and desperation, fights back with raw physical force, brutal, fast, and far from the composed Prince Isolde knows. Thane Duskrow had never once failed an assignment. Tonight, he chose to live long enough to try again.
This isn't finished.
She had asked him what he was hiding a dozen times, gently, patiently. Standing in that doorway, she finally understood it wasn't a small thing. Isolde presses harder. She lists everything strange. She's noticed his knowledge of the woods, his flinch at the bonfire, his sudden appearances at exactly the right moments, and demands he stop deflecting. Cornered and exhausted, Kaelen comes closer. He decided the truth was worth dying for. Then he remembered it would take her with him.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I won't beg for the truth anymore. Come back when you can give it, not before.
Kaelen walks the dark road back to the inn alone, utterly wrecked not by the fight with Thane, but by the choice he was just forced to make between honesty and her survival.
You failed! Against an unarmed man!
He's stronger than he looks.
Then stop attacking her. Attack his law instead. This strips any glamour the instant it touches skin.
The law doesn't care who reveals him.
Only that she sees the truth too soon.
In Thistlewick, days pass with Isolde and Kaelen keeping apart. She continues her healer's duties, but the ache of missing him surfaces in quiet, unguarded moments. He still couldn't tell his mother everything, but for the first time, he told her the truth that mattered most. Isolde finally asks Mabel to tell her everything she knows about the old village legend of the Heartbound. Mabel obliges. Some truths, it turned out, arrived disguised as simple bedtime stories first. Moved by the legend and her own feelings, Isolde decides not to demand truth, but to offer trust instead. She finds Kaelen alone at the riverbank and tells him she wants to keep trying, secrets and all. Small honest truths, offered freely without prompting, slowly rebuilt what silence had quietly worn away between them. Trust, they were both learning, doesn't require every secret to be spoken. She said it plainly, the way she said everything true and important in her life. She had no way of knowing 300 years had waited on those exact words. He didn't yet know if her words had satisfied the old magic, or if real danger had only just quietly begun. He knew he couldn't risk finding out carelessly tonight. As full penalty to trigger completely, Isolde herself had to be the one whose hand broke the glamour, which meant the trap had to be planted,
Somewhere she'll
not
touch
forced.
it without thinking.
He didn't need to trick her into anything elaborate or clever at all. He only needed her to be exactly as curious and unguarded as anyone finding a gift. Isolde discovers an anonymous gift at her door and unwraps it with innocent delight, unaware that ordinary curiosity, the very trait that makes her a devoted healer, is about to become dangerous. Kaelen wakes to a sudden, wordless certainty that something is deeply wrong, the kind of instinct that overrides logic entirely and runs without knowing exactly what he's running toward. Kaelen arrives with only seconds to spare, physically knocking danger from Isolde's hand before it can touch her, the two of them left staring at how close love just came to loss.
This would have hurt you badly.
How do you know that? What is it?
Something meant for me, not you. I have to go somewhere. A few days, no more.
Will you come back to me?
Nothing in this world will stop me trying.
No longer a desperate searcher, but a man with purpose, Kaelen crosses back into his own world, carrying the weight of a decision that will finally force a reckoning long overdue.
A curse charm, then an assassin, then a revealing shard.
Corvin means to end this by any means. Bring him to me, now.
Brought before the throne, Corvin relies on the same practiced charm that has shielded him his entire life, not yet realizing that this time, charm alone won't be enough to save him. Physical evidence succeeds where words never could, as a single inert fragment forces Corvin's carefully maintained mask to finally crack in front of the one person whose trust he can't fake. Corvin defends his cruelty as protection, revealing the uncomfortable truth that the most dangerous people often believe, right up until the end, that they were the ones being reasonable. Justice arrives not as violence but as total, humiliating loss, a reminder that some punishments cut deeper than death by simply taking away everything a person once measured their worth by. Thessaly's composure never breaks, even in complete defeat, a quiet reminder that some people mistake control for strength right up until the moment both are taken from them. Maren offers her son the wisdom she once needed herself, reframing an ancient law not as a test of what he is, but of whether love can survive knowing it. Kaelen crosses the veil one final time, no longer weighed down by uncertainty, having chosen courage over caution, trusting that real love shouldn't have to survive on careful silence forever.
I told you nothing would stop me.
I believed you, mostly.
Kaelen gathers the courage he's avoided for months, understanding that real intimacy requires risking everything, and that some conversations can't be postponed without slowly losing the person you're protecting. Kaelen finally lets her see all of him at once, unhidden and unguarded, understanding that love built on a disguise, however well-intentioned, was never going to be enough for either of them. Ancient magic responds instantly to spoken truth, indifferent to good intentions or careful timing, reminding both of them that some consequences arrive the moment we're brave enough to be honest. The bond doesn't break. It settles into something steadier, proving that love offered freely, before any promise of safety, was always the one thing strong enough to survive full honesty. Every strange detail Isolde noticed for weeks suddenly makes sense, a reminder that trust rebuilt through honesty often feels less like relief and more like finally exhaling after holding your breath. Neither of them has a map for what comes next, only the decision to build one together, proving that uncertainty shared honestly is far less frightening than certainty carried alone. Mabel's blessing arrives without hesitation, a reminder that the people who truly love us often see the truth of who matters long before we ever work up the courage to tell them. Ordinary life resumes, now lived openly rather than in hiding, proving that real belonging isn't about erasing every difference between two people, but choosing each other despite them daily. Maren meets Isolde not as royalty demanding deference, but as a mother grateful for her son's happiness, showing that real power sometimes looks like simply choosing warmth over formality. At the river where their bond nearly broke, Isolde and Kaelen watch the sunset together, proof that love chosen daily, without needing rescue or magic, is the story's truest ending.